There are only a couple things that actually annoy me about dealing with people. It's entitlement and victimhood. People who are so easy to make excuse about why something in their life is not happening. We never really told the lore of how we ended up on this property and how this homestead kind of came about. So this is kind of an introduction to that, I guess, on a certain level. But basically, to just jump right into it, 9 years ago, me and the wife sold everything, found some raw land, moved down here, and literally just started building on it. The only thing that we really had planned was we knew that we were going to do the tiny house, the little shed thing. That's the only thing that we knew for certain. We just knew we wanted land and we were going to turn it into a homestead no matter what it was and live in a tiny house. But to get there really wasn't that difficult. Before we even decided to even do anything like this, we were living in a 2,000 plus square foot house on a crater lake in northern Missouri. Little, it wasn't a gated community, but it was just a tiny little community. There's maybe 70 houses that were literally in a circle, and then there's a 300-acre lake all the way around it. One of those kind of things. So we lived in a place like that. 2,000 square foot house. I mean, old lady had a bike. I had a bike. She had a car. I had a car. Both had steady jobs. I had a CDL. I was working for my old man some of that time at doing like a scrapyard kind of thing. Just regular people. I was getting ready to work for Swans. I got a call back from Swans, and I was getting ready to start there right before we came down here. But we came down here, and I ended up giving my CDL up. So you know what I mean? Like there was the opportunity to just continue to be the cog in the wheel, the normal everyday humdrum fucking chase somebody else's idea of American dream type of situation. But finally, we we decided, hey, we can do this. We're tired of paying this much in tax. We're tired of paying this much for the fucking house. The bills are ridiculous. We're doing all this work. We ain't getting shit for it. You know, the typical story. We just started looking on the internet one day, looking at land, thinking of possibilities. What could I do with this? How can we turn this into a garden? How can we raise cattle and other livestock here? That type of thing. Just daydreaming. Didn't really have a full blown commitment to, like, yeah, we're about to do this. We were just kind of, oh, that's cool. Looking at little houses and seeing the potential for the tiny house movement and all that other shit, back before it became yuppieized. And now you're looking at tiny houses that are $250,000. And you're like, well, shit, you might as well just have a regular house. That shit don't make any sense. Just a regular fucking life. We weren't middle class, but we weren't, the bottom of the barrel type of thing, I rode my bike about 10 months out of the year, that type of thing. It's literally went fishing in the backyard. It's we were doing pretty damn good, but it was just too much. Somebody else's dream, always somebody else in your business, always somebody driving past. That just got tired of it. Long story short, we're living this humdrum, typical American story life, and it just wasn't enough. So we got on the internet. We started looking. This was all still a daydream, just hypothetical. What would this look like if we were to do this? Started looking at prices of property. Started looking at how much just regular things would cost. How much would fencing cost? How much would post cost? Sheetrock if we had to build a tiny house. You know, all these little things. And we got to a point to where we took some stakes and some string, and we literally mapped out in the front yard the dimensions that we would need at the very minimum to do a tiny house type situation. Because at the time it was me, the wife, and the boy. He was still young, very young. I said this 10 years ago. We just took some string and some stakes, just some pieces of wood, hammered them down, and we measured out the bathroom. All right, you know, we need a bathroom this big. So I went in the house, I measured the toilet. How wide is it? How deep is it? We went out there and we put a string measurement of, okay, this is where the toilet would sit. So it's like this, same thing with the bathtub, you know, the shower. Okay, that takes up this much space. The sink takes up this much space. All in string in the front yard. That way we could physically walk the layout and see exactly what would fit, what would be too, you know what I mean? Too tight, all this kind of stuff. And we did that with every single room, living room, bedroom, you know, everything, to see exactly what we would need to be comfortable. As soon as we got that dialed in, we just started driving around looking at sheds. There are, we were in on the Kansas Missouri border where we were living up north. So if you're from up there, you know, every 20 feet there's somebody selling, you know, sheds in a lot somewhere. So we just started looking at sheds and seeing which style we liked, which seemed like it would be more practical, loft space, storage space, you know, all these other things. There's a lot of places out there that will custom make them to your specifications, and then you just pay so much, you know, like per window, per door, that type of thing. So the first shed that we got on the property, it was insulated. It had a full bathroom with a shower, spots for washer and dryer. It had a full bedroom. You know, it was huge. It turned out to be too big, so that's why we're in a smaller one now. As soon as we got comfortable with the type of shed that we wanted, the style that we wanted, you know, then we got on the internet. We literally started looking for land, like that's simple. We're like, okay, we know we need at least, I think the goal, we were looking for about 5 acres is what we were looking for. That was kind of the goal, but we know we wanted no less than like 2 acres. There was a couple that were 1 acre that were damn good prices. But it was, you can't, 1 acre's not enough. I mean, for what we wanted to do, it wasn't enough. So we kept looking. We came across a place that had a whole bunch of properties set up just like ours. You the first $1,000 gets it. So whoever shows up with $1,000, that property is now yours. You are free to do with it what you want, and you're going to be making payments on a 20-year note. We started looking into stuff like that, you know, for sale by owner and all this other kind of stuff. Zonings, restrictions, that type of stuff, making sure no HOA, no minimum mandatory building minimums and stuff like this. You know, some places want you to have a 1,000 square foot house with a permanent foundation at minimum. No trailers, no. Some places are like no motorcycles. You know, that's not going to fucking work. But I will give you the tip. If you're looking for property, you wanna find something that says homesteader friendly. That's usually where you get your no zoning, no restrictions, and nobody gives a fuck type of stuff. So there's that. So we settled on a place that was selling land. It was $1,000 down. First $1,000 to show up gets it. One of those kind of things. You're paying $100 or $2 or $3 a month. So between $100 and $400 a month, depending on which property and which size of property you ended up picking. And it's a 20-year note, but you could pay it off at any time for the sale price. So a lot of the stuff we were looking at was basically less than $20,000 for the property. So there was a couple that we were looking at. It was like $18,000 for like 5 acres, something like that, right? But then it was 1,000 down, and then it would be so many $100 a month for up to 20 years. Then you could pay off the 18 at any time, and it'd be boom, flat rate. But if you wanted to extend it and just do the couple, you know what I mean, then it took it up, and that took it to so land that was selling for about $18,000, you were paying roughly $32,000 for it if you took the whole 20 years, right? It was that type of situation. So that's the kind of thing that we got into. We went and we looked at a couple properties. We're like, all right, that's pretty good. Well, first we scrounged up $1,000. That was, you know what I mean? We had a yard sale. We got rid of all kinds of stuff. Sold some things, and we were like, yeah, we need to come up with $1,000. Then we started calling the guy, and we're like, okay, well, we want to come look at this property. We want to come look at this property. Now, mind you, the property that we were looking at was between 3 to 5 hours away from where we currently were, right? So it's hard to just up and be like, okay, we're gonna drive 4.5, 5 hours to come look at this one property. So the first one that we looked at, it literally sold 2 hours after we looked at it. We went and walked it, did all that stuff. That's how we found out that cactus grows in Missouri. We literally walked every bit of this property. It was 5 acres. We were like, fuck it, that's the one. It had a power line close enough. It didn't go to the property, but it was close enough. But it did have a well, so that was a plus. We were like, fuck it, that's the one. We can make that work, you know. So we get back to the house. We call him. We're like, we'll take that one. We'll be back, whenever. Like, we'll send you the money however you want to do. We're like, we want that one. He was like, oh, I sold it like an hour or two ago. So we were like, well, fuck. He was like, but I've got another one that's so and so. And he gave us the details and shit. He was like, it's 3 acres. We can do all this. I was like, you know what? We'll take it. I mean, we've seen the pictures on the internet. So we didn't walk it, but we saw the pictures on the internet. We knew the general area because we've been down here looking at shit. So after looking at just the pictures, he was like, I've got this one. We were like, yeah, we'll take it. We'll be down tomorrow morning and we'll bring you $1,000. Guarantee we will be there. So we showed up, and I made him walk the entire property with us. It took about, I don't know, hour and a half or so. It was middle of October. So it was cold and wet and nasty, but it wasn't so cold that all the foliage had died yet. So, you know what I mean? We're walking through the fucking woods. He's showing me where the lines are. And we go up. He pulls out the contract, sets it on his hood. We sign it. 15 minutes later, he gives us the contract. We're like, cool. We drive back up north, and we start going through shit, downsizing. Actually, getting rid of damn near everything. And about 2 weeks later, we're back down here at the deed place, signing the actual contracts and putting the property in our name legally. Not one of those you'll get the title as soon as you pay it off kind of things. Like, no, we actually have the legal paperwork saying that this is ours. You know what I mean? One of those kind of things. So legit all the way around. The wife had already found a job down here. The boy was still going to school, and I was still working up there. So I stayed we stayed. I think she came down here for about 8 days to 2 weeks. What you doing, man? Declan just rolled off the couch. He's embarrassed. Found a job, and she came down and slept on the property for about 2 weeks in the Jeep before we cleared anything, before we did anything. She came down because she had a job that was lined up and waiting and ready to go. Her hire date just came a little bit earlier than we were expecting, kind of thing. So you roll with it. We were already committed. So she comes down here. Me and the boy come down about 2 weeks later. We're getting rid of, taking care of the last final stuff, bringing the last couple loads of stuff down, that type of stuff, making sure everything's done so we don't ever have to go back to this place saying the goodbyes, you know what I mean? Doing all that nonsense. It was going to take them about a month or so to get the shed done. So we had to find a spot in town, and we rented a house for about 4 months, 4 or 5 months. We had to rent a house and stay in town and wait for the shed to get built and delivered. Like it could get built in a month, but it would take like another 2 to 3 to even 6 weeks sometimes to have it delivered because it's private contractors who bring it in a lot of these places. So by that time, it was winter time. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to come out here and see, you guys see how we get stuck now. Like we're not going to try to come out here and haul materials and sheetrock and lumber and all this other stuff in the middle of winter. So the shed got delivered and it stayed there and it just kind of sit here until spring or until it was nice enough for me to come over. I would drive about round trip. It was roughly 60, 70 miles every day to come over here. I'd say 6 days a week I was coming over here, cutting trees, uh, clearing out paths and doing all this other stuff so we could actually get in here and do something. Dropping trees, pulling trees, moving gravel around, getting everything set up so we could actually be in here. The one thing that we didn't have on this property, though, was water. I will tell you that sucks. If you don't have water, you don't have shit. I just want that to be known. If you're looking for land, if you do not have water, you can't do shit. But we still took the gamble. We knew eventually that we would get a well out here, so we saved up for it. You know what I mean? It cost, by the time it was done, the well was about $8,000. But we've got free water for the rest of our lives, so $8,000 is a pretty decent trade-off. But we didn't have water when we first moved out here. We didn't have a septic. The only thing that we had was a really rough driveway that's like a rainbow shaped, and it had fist-sized rocks, right? They were just the foundation rocks. So just one pour of fist-sized rocks all the way around the driveway. It was a fucking nightmare. Imagine this sucks. It fucking sucked. But that was the foundation you had to put on land like this because it squashes down, and then you come in and you put regular gravel, and it makes it more stable. So we had that driveway, and from the power line, there was an electric line dug that's probably 200 foot from the power line. It was underground trench, and it came up into a fuse box, a camper fuse box, just one of those little small fuse boxes on a piece of plywood. I guess the concept was to sell it like an RV spot kind of thing. So that was the foundation of what we had. It literally looked like this, the entire property when we first got this place. If we need water that bad, then we will buy like the Culligan jugs, the 5-gallon jugs and shit like that. We'll buy it at the grocery store. We'll buy it by the gallon jug. That whole concept. And that's what we did for a couple months. We use like 5-gallon jugs. We go down to we live by a recreational lake. It's a nightmare. It's a tourist trap. But for the first couple years, because we didn't have access to water, we would go down to the state park and use those showers and those bathrooms every morning and every night. We'd go down to the state park, take a shower, do your little cosmetics, get the boy off to school, people go to work, that type of thing. They got a laundromat there. They got laundromats everywhere, so we were using the laundromats for the deal. And for the drinking water, we were just buying it by the jug. Eventually, we found a couple people that were cool, and we became friends with them, and we worked out a barter deal to where I've got those 350-gallon IBC totes that you guys see that I got. Those used to be our water containers, and we literally built a water tower. I built a 5-foot tower out of 4x4s and 3x6s to hold that 350-gallon tank up about 5.5 foot, and we had it gravity fed into the house. So he would let us fill up from his well if I helped him clean up around his yard and do that kind of stuff. They were old folks, and they were kind of robust. They weren't very mobile, one of those type of things. But our son was friends with their son, type of situation. So we were like, oh yeah, we'll help you out, that type of thing. So through that, we were able to get water, to actually do stuff. The shed that we had originally, the bigger shed that turned out to be too big for what we were actually trying to do, we switched it up for a much smaller shed. I mean, honestly, having the shower and the bathroom and all that stuff was nice, but it was useless space. We literally weren't using it because we did not have water, and we would have been years away from having water. So it was kind of, I mean, there was really no reason to have it. It was wasted space. It was a nightmare to heat. It was just unnecessary and more than we actually needed. So we downgraded the house and we built an outhouse. For you guys who have been around for a while, from the original channel, you remember the shower house. That's what we had. If anybody's new here, go back into some of my old homestead stuff videos and you will see we literally had a shower house about 70 feet off of the back of this shed, and that's where we had the actual shower. It was pre-built because we still didn't have water, but it was pre-built. It was originally the outhouse. All right, so let me rewind real quick. It was originally an outhouse, right? We had a 55-gallon drum that I buried halfway in the ground, maybe a third of the way in the ground, between a third and a half in the ground, right? And then I built a stage around it. That way, if I had to take the barrel out, it wasn't so deep that I would not be able to pick it up. You know what I mean? I used to be younger and stronger 9 years ago. So, 55-gallon drum in the ground, and there is a platform built up to it, a little stage built over it, and then boom, your little Dookie Central on top. Walls built, thrown together walls. For a while, it was literally just 2x4s and tarps stapled to a frame over a fucking hole on the stage. That's literally what it was for years. By the time we got water, we tore the shitter completely down, but used the same platform to build the shower house. And by the time we got it done, we realized that there's not enough room for a toilet and a bathroom or a shower. So we built another outhouse right up against the back of the house. So we had a room to take a shower in that we had electricity run to, so we could put a little space heater in there. So we had a shower house down there, but then we still had an outhouse right behind the house. And we lived like that for okay, so 4 years. It took us 4 years to get the well. It took us 6 years to get the toilet, a functioning toilet. Yeah. So 4 years before we had an actual shower, 6 years before we had a flushing toilet. We're in year 9 now. I think we're starting year 10. Shit, I don't know. But yeah, it's been an extremely slow and grueling commitment to do this. We could still be up north having fancy clothes. You know what I mean? I could wear sleeves. I could have a nice bike. We could have nice cars. We could be in a bigger, fancier house. I just don't want it. It's not worth it. As much as it sucked doing this, building this homestead, you know, all the stuff we've given up, all the luxuries, you know, all the hard times, all the fights, you know, it's doing this stuff here. It's not easy on a relationship. Keep that in mind. Anybody who's done a construction project knows it's hard to keep things civil during a construction project, especially when life itself is a bitch at the moment too. You know what I mean? So there's nothing easy about it. It's not glamorous, you know. You have to give up way more than you gain in the beginning. But by the time you get settled, the time you get situated, the time it becomes a lifestyle, that's when you start seeing the rewards and the benefits. Because you realize that everything that you gave up didn't mean shit. It had nothing to do with your quality of life at all. It was irrelevant. A lot of people think I'm batshit crazy, but I honestly believe it. There is freedom in poverty. I know that sounds fucked up coming, you know, I'm a capitalist, you know, free market, you know, make $1 million, fucking do it all day long. But there is a different freedom that comes with not owing anybody anything and not being stuck in the whole, oh, I got to buy this name brand, or you know what I mean, just the flashy unnecessary shit. It don't mean anything. There have been times when we have been prosperous and money was coming in, you know, not money like it used to be, but money that was making us comfortable. You know, a few situations arise that make life a little bit easier. You know, things are happy for a little bit. But then there's been a many a times to where you want to break every tool you've got, where you just want to say, fuck it, burn it all down, sell it. We're going back to fucking town. You know, I'm not trying to glamorize a lifestyle. I'll be like, oh, anybody can do it. It's so easy. Look, it's hard as fuck. And it can't be a hobby. It has to be a lifestyle. Yeah, you can jump right into it, but you have to have some kind of semblance of a plan. The basic foundations. I've said it for years and I will say it for the rest of my life. Where are you going to eat? Where are you going to sleep? And how are you going to wash your ass? If you can get those things figured out, then you can pretty much get it done. You get those three fundamentals figured out, you can make it happen. That's literally all it takes. We have many winters out here to where we literally had to cuddle up with the dogs and we could not do shit. We could not go anywhere. Too cold to move, you know. It sucked. Water froze. Uh, Roads are blocked. Can't get out. Can't do anything. Can't go anywhere. We knew this coming into it. We knew it was going to suck, and we braced for the suck. We were aware that it was going to suck at certain times, simply because it sucked when it was good. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like the road and things like that. You know, other small little environmental things. So we pretty much knew it was going to happen, and just chalked it up to, all right, it's just part of it. And years later, going on our 10th year, as much as it sucked, as much as I've cussed and cursed this fucking land and everything and everybody around me, you know, I do not regret it. I enjoy the freedom that came from all the chaos of building this more than I miss being stuck in the system. I don't miss the shiny shit. I don't miss having nice fancy clothes. I don't miss having a pretty car to drive around. You know, I don't miss any of that at all. The freedom to build or tear down as I please. You know, the freedom to keep myself and my family warm and fed or to not, the responsibility that comes with freedom, it makes you understand that I wasn't free the entire time. The whole time I was pampered and comforted, surrounded by luxury and fancy shit, I was not even close to being free. Hindsight compared to what I am now. I think the hard work and the scariness of it is what makes it worth it, is what made it worth it. All the bad decisions, all the wrong decisions, you know what I mean? All the arguments, the fights, the misspent money, you know what I mean? Wasted resources, the learning experience, the injuries, everything. It was worth it to have the freedom. When you don't owe anybody anything, when you're not driven by cultural expectations of wealth and status, that type of stuff, life gets really simple and all that shit doesn't matter. I get it, America, you know what I mean? If you want the mansion and the condo, do you. I'm just saying. For those of you who are tired of just being a cog in the wheel, you don't have to participate in the system. That's what I say. I don't like the victim mentality. All the bullshit that I've built and been through to secure my freedom, my slice of freedom, as free as I can be, it is worth it. It is worth the fight. It is worth the being scared. It is worth the injury. It is worth taking a chance on yourself to break the dependency. If you hate the system so much, take a chance on yourself and just do it. Don't be obligated to family. Don't be obligated to possessions. Don't be obligated to an area on a map. You've got this entire country that you can go to. The same amount of money you spend on your cell phone bill or on your random Starbucks lattes or gas station energy drinks or whatever this useless shit is that everybody spends their money on. A couple $1,000, 3,000, 4,000 bucks could literally change your life with a little bit of planning and a little bit of nuts. You know? I'm not going to say it's not hard. On paper, it's easy as fuck. But it's extremely fucking hard. Because you can't half-ass it. It can't be a hobby. Doing this has to be a literal lifestyle. Freedom has to be fought for every single day when you live a self-reliant life. That's when you appreciate it. When you literally have to sweat and break your body to maintain it. It's yours, and nobody can take it from you unless you let them. One of the main things I have noticed about people when they start to make excuses is that they'll be like, "Oh, it doesn't have this or it doesn't have that. I need this. I need to have it this." They set their standards so high of what they have to be happy, so they automatically set themselves up to fail because they're looking for something that's somebody else's dream already built for them. How can you find the perfect spot if it's been built by somebody else already? Main thing I see is people always say, "Oh, it doesn't have this, so we couldn't do it," or "We needed this." On some things I could see, I could understand that argument, but on most things, it's superficial nonsense. It's standards of luxury that must be achieved before they'd commit to being uncomfortable, even with high standards of luxury. It doesn't make any sense. There's all kinds of opportunity and access to property and land all over this country. The problem is people will not lower their standards enough to find things acceptable. Oh, I don't want to be a burger flipper, but if you could own 5 acres of property and all you'd have to do is work at McDonald's for 20 hours a week, that wouldn't be good enough, kind of thing. You'd own land, but you'd be a burger flipper. Simple things like that. Because when you're not flipping burgers, guess what? You're building your land. It's not a hard concept. Little things like that. Like, are your standards what are holding you back? By wanting to have most of this shit done for you already. How much of the work are you willing to put in? That kind of thing. Think about that. Instead of how comfortable do you actually need to be, think about how much work are you willing to put in to be that comfortable. And then look at property based off of that. I understand, and I am fully aware that there are some circumstances that stop people from, oh, I'd like to do it, but I can't just, drop my family and up and jump into this. I understand that. I understand completely. There are legitimate excuses. I'm simply pointing out a lot of times those excuses are just that, excuses. People are scared to commit. They're scared to give something up. They're scared to walk away from people. They're scared to walk away from the nightlife or whatever the situation may be. Always something that stops people. Like I said, I understand in some situations, yes, acceptable. In most situations, it's not. It's just simply fear. That's all it can be. I know age is also a factor. You know what I mean? I'm not overlooking that. I'm simply stating, even on a minimum scale, something can be done and things can be achieved. Not every homestead has to be some glorious, high maintenance, $1 million facility. It could be something as simple as a spot in the woods cleared out for a cabin and a garden and a couple chickens. That's all. That's all it takes. I said 3 things to do it: know where you're going to sleep, know how you're going to eat, and know how you're going to wash your ass. If you can get those 3 things figured out, you can literally do anything you want to do. Commit to it and make it the lifestyle. Freedom is hard work, and through hard work, you will find freedom or you will die trying. And isn't it better to die trying to find freedom than being a slave in fancy clothes? To me, it is.